Hi, this is Dean Zhang, KA3YJM. The following NEMARC Digital Discussion and Workshop encompasses Fusion, DMR, and D-Star. This video is brought to you by Stephen, K2EJ, with additional comments from others including Tom, KE3GK, and Jack, KA3WJZ. While it's lengthy, it's packed full of terrific practical and technical information. Please enjoy another NEMARC presentation.
Okay, so DMR is going to, to reiterate, the NEMARC Digital Reflector contains Yaesu System Fusion, which or C4FM. You see them used interchangeably in many online publications. D-Star, which is developed by ICOM, and DMR. DMR has been around for a while, and it's used for business communications. Motorola is the one that developed DMR, and they're the ones that have the rights to it. The reason you hear DMR on amateur radio is because a bunch of Motorola employees and former Motorola employees have took the DMR and basically ported it over for use in amateur radio. Before, I would probably say until a few years ago, in order to use DMR, you would need a Motorola radio, but now there's a lot of the Chinese manufacturers are building radios that are affordable for use on DMR. So that's basically the gist of it. And just recently, I've also put on a new mode called All-Star Link. Now, I didn't mention All-Star Link in part of this presentation because that's actually analog. But the concept of All-Star Link is very similar in terms of if you want to use a digital mode on the reflector and there's no repeater nearby, I prefer to use a hotspot because that way if somebody is on the repeater, and you'll hear people on a repeater that has the digital capability. I know we don't have any Fusion repeaters in Hartford County. I think we have a couple of DMRs, and I think we have one D-Star, if I'm not mistaken. I know there's a couple of D-Star repeaters down in Baltimore County. In Cecil County, I'm not really sure, and I know in Pennsylvania there's several of them too. I know there's a bunch of Yaesu System Fusion repeaters up there. Now, before I go on with Yaesu System Fusion, I just want to separate the fact that we're not talking about Wires X. Wires X is basically Yaesu's own network of nodes that is like their proprietary system that they all interlink with each other. What we have here is Yaesu System Fusion, the reflector, which is actually a separate network from Yaesu's Wires X network. It was just about until 2 or 3 weeks ago when I finally understood what all that meant myself. And the reason why I found that was because I purchased an HRI 200, which is needed to connect to Wires X if you don't have a current radio from Yaesu. And when I was trying, and the backstory was I was trying to create a room for NEMARC on Wires X, but then I'm like, how come I don't see it on the Pi-Star? And then after a while, I was like, okay. So the Yaesu System Fusion reflector is separate from Wires X. So that's how. So I'm glad I found that information because I know it's confusing as it is, but that probably would have really thrown everybody off the loop. So. But the good news about that is if you do have a Yaesu radio or looking to get a Yaesu radio, look for one that has a C4FM capability, and you do not need to purchase an HRI 200 or anything like that to connect, which is I mean in the future I'm going to plan on interlinking Wires X with it, but right now that's out of our scope. So, any questions so far?
And if you have a question, just raise your hand so Steve could call on you.
Okay. All right. So, next thing we're going through is what is the differences between digital and analog? Well, just like the best way I can describe it is basically I can basically use the television as an example, because that's the only thing. That's the first thing that comes to my mind is the I can't even explain that way. Tom, can you help me out here?
Not really.
Okay.
It's all up there. Well, digital communications are cleaner. They take less bandwidth. They sound better. Analog is susceptible to noise, crackling, static, all that type of stuff. It's larger bandwidth.
Like
And
it's amplitude modulated.
what's that, Jack?
It's amplitude modulated.
Okay.
Analog.
Like the difference between a vinyl record and a CD. Like
Right.
vinyl-
Yeah, actually, that's very comparable. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Now, also the one thing with radio communications, what you'll notice between digital and analog is with digital, when the signal gets weak, you're gonna notice some artifacting versus analog. You hear some hash and frying on the signal. So for digital, you need digital is basically you need a fairly strong signal to copy 100%. But that doesn't mean that you can't copy it. It's just that instead of like analog would fade in and out, digital you either hear it or you don't. The thing about digital also is it takes up less bandwidth than an analog signal. Let me see. I'm trying to think. For FM signal, and now come on, I'm a ham. I should know this, but I don't. But basically, it uses more bandwidth to transmit the communications versus the digital. Now, if you notice on the repeaters, they're spaced out every what's the measurement there? Is it every? Oh my gosh, maybe my fault. This is a little too late. Too late. You need to think properly, but. So every is it? Gosh, how embarrassing.
10 kilohertz.
Every 20 kilohertz, I think. Yeah, every 20 kilohertz is spaced out, I think. And if you look at digital repeaters, they spaced out every 10 kilohertz. So, but I don't remember the actual spacing of it. There's information online about it that actually gives all the technical details, but I'm not one of technical knowledge on that.
An FM, they're running 15 kilohertz slots.
Okay.
So a signal, typically they're running 6 kilohertz, plus or minus 6 kilohertz in an FM repeater slot.
Okay. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so that's just the gist of it. There's really no importance in how the reflectors are run because everything. Rose, hang on 1 second. I lost him. There was a bug crawling on my wall there. So basically, the reflector itself isn't actually on the air. It isn't on the air. The reflector is basically a computer server that has the software to run the reflectors. Currently, the NEMARC reflectors are running on two separate computers. One computer is run in the cloud. So the server is a virtual server I think it's located in Northern Virginia that I chose. And the second computer server is actually right behind me, behind the printer over there. You can't see it. And the reason why that one computer is in the cloud was because it was interfering with my hotspots. So I mean, I could run the reflector here at home, but then how can I use it if it interferes with my hotspots? Now I would have to configure my hotspots, but then it just won't be fun anymore. So I decided to migrate the one of the servers over on the cloud, and that way, if we have any problems of power outages here, it'll still be up. And if I'm on vacation or something like that, well, I was going to say, well, too bad. You guys got to wait till I get back. But then people were probably more discouraged to even use it when something like that happens. So that's basically the reflector itself. It's not actually a radio. the computer actually will receive the signals that are transmitted and route it to different to where it has to go. The radio part of it is actually on the operator's end. So with that we get to item D, which is what equipment do I need to connect to the reflector? Okay, so the first thing you need is a VHF or a UHF radio. More likely a UHF radio because hotspots don't come with VHF frequencies. Here's an example of a board. Let me see if I can put it on the screen. I took this apart beforehand so that way I'm not messing with it. So basically that's the board right there that actually has the transceiver that receives and transmits the radio signal, and that's connected to a Raspberry Pi. And this is a Raspberry Pi Zero. And and what I can do is, if you see the GPIO headers, they plug right into each other. Okay, so that's how the Raspberry Pi would be used to configure a hotspot to use the reflectors. So let me see. So that's the basics of that.
So basically, if you own a Yaesu HT, meaning a C4FM Fusion Yaesu HT or a mobile rig, you would need a Raspberry Pi so that you can that will connect to your router or the internet, and you can use your HT to access the Stevens K2EJ reflector. And that would be the easiest path. Once you have that, it's very easy to set up. Jack just set one up a couple of weeks ago, bought a Raspberry Pi already built with the software already loaded on it. And you just had to go in and set your, put your call sign in, the frequency, or the 77 centimeter frequency that you're going to transmit on your HT or your mobile rig, and connect to the reflector, and you're in. Wait a minute, what's this here? Okay, so that's the easiest migration path. And now the Raspberry Pi already built with the software already loaded is about $100, I think. Is that correct, Jack? About $100.
I bought the pair, both the boards, for $80 and some change.
Okay, $80, and then you connect it to your laptop or your computer initially to set it up, and then you connect it to your router. Right now, mine is connected via Wi-Fi to my router, and I use an HT to access the reflector, and I just need low power, you know, 1/4 watt or whatever. The Raspberry Pi is on the other side of the house, and I can access the reflector that way. It's relatively easy to set up. Scott is sending, what's he sending? My Pi is Ethernet and I use MD380. Okay.
Yeah, mine. A couple of my hotspots are on the are also Ethernet. I think I have 2 hotspots of mine personally that are on Wi-Fi. But the one I think I'm trying to think. I have the Fusion, the Yaesu. See, now here's the other thing too. I use hotspots for each particular mode. In the beginning, what I did was I used one hotspot for 3 different modes, and for my style, it got a little rough. So I actually have 3 different. I have one hotspot set up for each mode, so I can monitor many different reflectors at the same time.
Now, just to mention, the Raspberry Pi and the Pi-Star software can do Yaesu Fusion, DMR, D-Star, and some other things that we're not going to get into tonight. But that Pi-Star software can use those 3 different modes. And the benefit I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit. The benefit of using a reflector is for those people that can't access the club repeater. For instance, Bob, K3RLW out in Easton, and who else? Let's see, Chuck. Dan can't access it. Chuck K3CHF can't hit it. But going through the internet, we can all talk to each other with no problem. Dan, you have a question?
Sorry,
Unmute yourself.
Yep. I can reach the analog repeater, but my question is, so you guys are saying reflector. Is this natively a D-Star reflector that does cross mode? Is that how this is working, or is this natively a Fusion talk area? I forget what Fusion calls it.
Okay, what actually, Dan, is actually one of each. I actually have the way I have it set up is a Yaesu System Fusion reflector, a D-Star reflector, and also the D-Star reflector also accepts transmissions from D-Star. Also, the software that I installed that runs it is called XLXD.
Okay.
And so basically, that's just that. So that also permits me to also set up a D-Star D-Star reflector.
So the reflector that I was on the other night talking to you, that will actually go back out then on both Fusion now and.
Yes. So when we were talking on the D-Star reflector, the people that would be listening to the Yaesu reflector will hear us, and the DMR talk group will also hear us too.
Fantastic. Cool.
Yeah. So, and now, just 2 days ago, I've also interlinked an all Starlink node to the mix.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm just not going to mention all Starlink right now because that's not digital.
Right.
Just is what the scope of this presentation is. But
Yeah,
I will mention it near the end, and because I know there's going to be people who say, "Well, I got so I don't want to buy no digital radio," so this would be an option for them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Alex?
Stephen?
Yeah.
The Pi Star, the Raspberry Pi, that's connected to a radio. Is that correct? A small, low power radio?
Yeah, so basically.
And the two of them together make a hotspot?
Yeah, so basically this thing right here, this what they call the MMDVM board, this is actually a radio.
Okay,
a very low power radio. What you see right here is the antenna connector.
Okay.
Okay, that's an SMA female, and usually when you buy it, they come with a tiny little antenna to attach to it.
Okay.
Now
so it only has to reach from your local HT or a small one to that hotspot.
So for an average size house, it'll reach it just fine. If you want to if you have larger property or something like that, you can hook it up to an outdoor antenna to provide a little more gain, so that we can go further away from the hotspot. So that's an option right there.
And that's the way Scott plans on doing it, so that his sons can access the same hotspot since they live basically across the street from him. And then Jack has he's showing what his hotspot looks like and the software running on it, and he's got a little antenna on there. The green light means he's connected.
Yeah, so basically what Jack has right there is the actual complete unit without the case. And I showed you just the parts of it. With the case, it would look something like this. So that way it can be tidy and
you can't short it out by dropping a nickel on it.
Right, that's the other thing too. Now this is the basic, Raspberry Pi Zero and the radio board that's on there. Now, if you want to go crazy like me, you can get one with a big screen.
Wow.
This is built around the Raspberry Pi 3B, and it's got some weight to it too. But it's got a 3.5-inch next-to-end screen that basically can tell you the status of who's connected to the reflector that you're on, so you can actually see the call sign of the person talking, For DMR, it'll show you the talk group that you're on, the reflector for D-Star, and for Fusion, it'll show the actual reflector that you're on. And in most cases, it'll also show you the call sign of the person that's transmitting on it. Okay.
Now, for everybody who don't have a Raspberry Pi, I know this kind of sounds like rocket science and stuff, but it really isn't. Once you get the Raspberry Pi and you set it up and you just start using it, you'll be a user. You won't be a rocket science guy. I bought one about 6 months ago just because I heard people talking about it, and I said, well, I don't know much about it. I don't know what it does, but I got a good deal on it, so I bought it, and it sat in my office for about a month. And then I decided to do some reading on the internet of how it works, how to connect it. And, there I am. I'm now using it. There is a repeater in Colombia. It's a 449475 that's connected to AmericaLink, which is worldwide. You'll have people from France, Russia, Germany, Japan talking on AmericaLink at any time of the day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you find a repeater that connected, AmericaLink is the largest room that Yaesu Fusion has, and like I said, it's worldwide, and there's generally 100 people on there at any one time. Now they're all not talking at the same time. that would be quite confusing, but so there's a lot of options with that. If you like making contacts via C4FM, some people do QSL and all that type of stuff, making those type of contacts. So the main thing for us, though, I think, is that it would allow for everybody in the club, which is basically a 175-mile range from, for contesting at least, for ARRL contesting. It allows everybody in the club to communicate with each other. Now, right now, I'm looking at Steven's reflector, and he's on it, Jack's on it, I'm on it, and it looks like it polls to see who's on it. And then there's some DMR people. I'm not sure who they are, but there's two DMR D-Star people.
Two of them is me, one of them is Scott, and I think there was a third one, but I don't remember.
So the thing is, Yaesu Fusion will give your call sign when you're on there. When you're going in through DMR or D-Star, it'll show a number instead of your call sign, from what I can figure out so far. But mainly, the idea behind this is to bring the whole club together so that we can communicate with each other. Right now, the 145.270 repeater is great for, Bel Air and the area around there, and some Dundalk, but like me and Jack, we can hear the repeater, but we can't hit it right now. And I think that Bob, N3UR, I think, N3OZT, I forgot who exactly is working. But when this COVID-19 thing's over, I understand that the antenna is going to be a different situation, so more people will be able to hit it. But, there's still some members like KE3GK, he lives in Washington State. He could actually access the reflector and chat with us, which would, really be a lot more fun than doing Discord, I think. Anyway, I'm just rambling on. Go ahead, Stephen.
No problem.
Dean will cut that out.
And what Tom was basically saying is, with all these other things available on the reflectors, other reflectors out there, so you're not just limited to just, if you want to go this route and talk to the guys in the club, you're not limited to just talking to us, because quite frankly, after 2 minutes I get sick of everybody talking to the same people, so especially Tom, so So what he's basically saying is with this hotspot, you can experiment and connect to other DMR talk groups, D-Star reflectors, and fusion reflectors.
And there's a lot of them out there.
You can talk to other people, and like what I do is I have mine hooked up to the East Coast Reflector. If they actually have a website, it's eastcoastreflector.com, and there's a bunch of people that like to talk on there. Their system is huge. They have Fusion, D-Star, DMR, All-Star Link, IRLP, Echo Link, all that just intermingled into one big gigantic chat room. And it's interesting because they have a net every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and you got guys from Australia checking in, and it's morning for them when they check in. So and then a couple of guys down in New Zealand who check in too. So so for the people who don't have or don't want to, I know a bunch of us, have a huge HF passion, but for those that don't, this is another way you can use amateur radio to communicate through the world. I mean, albeit you have to cheat a little, and we use the internet, but it is still radio. Whether there's some people, whether naysayers like to knock it, because here's the thing: when you're talking, you have to use a radio, and to transmit, you need an amateur radio license. So it's just that you're transmitting from here, going to here. That's plugged into your home internet.
And by the way, we can have people from around the world connect to this reflector. And Stephen, didn't somebody from Norway or somebody connect a couple of weeks ago from some different country?
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, there was the call sign. I just noticed that they connected to it and just keyed it up.
Right.
And it was on the Yaesu reflector side. And
so what people do, what other hams do, they search the Yaesu reflector. There's a website that tells how many people are actually on the reflector talking at the time they do the search. And if they see a bunch of us on the Yaesu, on the K2EJ reflector, that's what I'm going to call it, because I forget what number it is.
It changed again.
Yeah, it did. But they could actually log on to that reflector and talk to us. And they could be from any country that, that they have Pi-Star and all that stuff.
Yeah. It's 3124370.
That doesn't sound right.
No, that's I think that's Scott's DMR number.
Oh, I see.
Okay, the Yaesu system
121.
62121.
Yeah, YSF 62.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is this will be a good time to segue into the next topic, which is just the software we were just talking about. But I want to show you the software for the Raspberry Pi. The main software is called Pi-Star, and what I'm going to do is I'll share my screen so I can show you what the dashboard looks like.
All right, wait a minute. I think I have to allow you to share the screen.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. I'm going to share this.
I had a quick question for you.
Steve, go ahead.
I've seen a lot of different videos on YouTube. Now, the Pi-Star with the hotspots you're talking about, is that similar to a Zoom spot where it's already sold, packaged all together?
Okay, the Zoom spot is actually, yes. It's actually another version. Actually, the Zoom spot is the real deal. That's the original that runs Pi-Star, the Pi-Star software. So the Zoom spot, I actually have two of them. So yes, that is an option if you want to go that way. And HRO is the store that exclusively sells the Zoom spot. Okay, so anybody see my
Yep.
See my screen? Okay. This is what Pi-Star looks like. Okay, let's go to the top, and basically, and what I'm showing to you here is my Yaesu System Fusion hotspot. So if you look over here, you basically will select the mode that you want, or modes, And for this case, I only have one because of my operating style. So YSF you can see is turned on. And this is where you put your information here, your call sign. Yeah, for DMR, this would be your DMR ID. And now, okay, I guess I should bring this up now since DMR, to use DMR and D-Star, you actually have to register with DMR, you actually have to register to get a DMR number, an ID. And for D-Star, you actually have to register with the gateway to have your call sign included into the network for D-Star. Okay, so basically, so if you choose to go either one, Yaesu, you don't have to register. So if you want to go to either one of those routes, then that's something that you would have to do beforehand. But here's the configuration that I have defined in my hotspot. And down here is what I have when I have my hotspot turned on. I have it automatically default to the NEMARC reflector. So if it reboots or whatever, that's always gonna be connected to that. You can now, if I click on this, you can see this I mean, this is just only a partial list of it, but it gives you all different reflectors. They may or may not be active, but you can scroll. You can look at all the different ones, and for example, FCS 290. That's America Link. So if you want to talk to a bunch of people, the America Link would be the one you would go to. That's like the busiest one. And this is interlinked with Wires X. So the stations that are using Wires X, you can actually talk to them too through this. So I'm not going to hit apply because otherwise, but that's basically the basic of Pi-Star right here. And this is majority of it. This is what you just have to configure to get it running. It seems like a lot, and I know, like when I first did this, I was like, what is it? But I just want just to be reassured. There's a lot of tutorials online that takes you step by step. A lot of videos on YouTube, and that's actually how I did it. I actually followed a couple of the videos to get my setup when I first did this.
And I think we would be willing to help anybody on a Zoom session to set it up. It is really easy.
Tom will help you. I'm not going to help. No, I'm just kidding. I will help you. Okay, so that's basically the gist of it. So it's not really, like I said, it's not really complicated, but at first it seems like a lot. And I understand that a bunch of people will probably be still overwhelmed by it. And I'm honest to God, trying to be as less technical about this as possible. But I know I tend to get carried away, and Tom can tell you that. He's always yelling at me for that. Maybe. Okay, so that's it with that. Any questions?
I can't see any. I think you have to get out of the.
Okay, let me get in. Yeah, it's like I was looking at to see if
somebody's raising their hand. We can't see them.
Okay,
Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck.
So I have System Fusion mobile radio, FTM 100 DR. So what exactly do I need to buy? I guess can you send a link or put it on Discord or whatever?
Okay, Tom or Jack, can you send them a link? And I know you found the complete sets. I mean, I can send you the link for the separate parts, but I don't know if you want to go that route or a complete. What you're going to need is a hotspot.
I would recommend not building them. I know that Scott Siegel said that he recommends building them, and that's true for ham radio guys. Building equates usually to learning, but I can't solder anymore. My hands are too shaky. I tried to solder a wind keyer and actually burnt the key because my hand was shaky. So unless you're very good at soldering, and these are small parts, I'd recommend buying one that's already put together. It's called Raspberry Pi 0W is what I have. And I think that's what Jack has. And I think Stephen owns a couple of them. Raspberry Pi 0W. I bought mine on eBay. Jack bought his on Amazon, didn't you, Jack? You're muted. anyway, you can buy these things. They're
I bought mine on the ham radio site.
okay. So that's what you would need, Chuck. And then once you get it, I'll be glad to do a Zoom session with you to help you set it up. It really is, looking at the Pi-Star software looks just looks daunting, really. But you don't really have to set up that. You don't have to make too many changes in there. Maybe 4 or 5 different changes. Your call sign, your frequency, the reflector that you're going to hit is about it. And then you do an update, and then you learn as you go and play with it. And you go to the Pi-Star website. By the way, the Pi-Star software was developed in the United Kingdom, and I think it's pistar.org, if I'm not mistaken.
Pi-Star, I think it's pistar.uk. Let me see, Pi-Star.
And that'll show you, yeah, pistar.uk. These are the guys that developed the software, and it'll go through everything. Tells you all about it, how to do DMR radios, Brandmeister tools, Pi-Star tools, and all that. So I looked at this for quite some time to decide whether I'm going to deal with this or not, because it does look complicated. But once you get in there, it really isn't complicated. So,
and here's the thing. Especially there's me, Tom, that I'm more than willing to basically Elmer, anybody that, and anybody else that has has experience with this can help other people set it up.
Yeah.
And it's cheaper to buy the radio top hat with Pi Zero W. It's better to buy it all together,
right,
than to buy them separately. Separately, it could cost you as much as $200. I only paid $80 and some change for mine. So, and it's up to you.
Did you build it, Jack, or?
No, it was already put together. All I had to do is
turn it on.
Turn it on. You know.
Now for the people that are adventurous like me and like to build stuff, then I would build it. Then I would, especially if you like to tinker and stuff. I'm a tinkerer. I like to build kits. So you can so the Raspberry Pi Zero W is $10. And then, well, this one here, the one I've been showing to you guys, this is the N5BOC. Where's my I stuffed my boxes in there? But this is the simplex node, N5BOC, Lone Star Electronics.
November 5.
Bravo Oscar Charlie. He's got his own website, and he sells the simplex and duplex versions of the board. This is the simplex one I have right here.
Is that C4FM, that node?
This can do just do all of them. This is basically so it's basically
it does them all.
This is another version of the board, like the Zoom Spot and the Jumbo Spot. This is another model that you. So you have choices basically on if you want to, and what I like about him is that these are cheaper than the Zoom Spots, and they're very high quality.
What are the other options, Steve, besides?
Okay, we have the N5BOC, the Zoom Spot, which is, well, I'm not gonna take it apart, but the Zoom Spot is in this big gigantic thing, and Zoom Spot is the one it's sold exclusively through Ham Radio Outlet, and they have ones you can buy as a kit, and also I think they also sell ones that are pre-built. The ones that are pre-built, like Jack said, probably cost you over $200. I know they have one that looks like this. It's about $200-something.
And then MMDVM.
MMDVM. Mm-hmm.
That's another one.
Well, that's actually the generic. That's the generic name for the radio board.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, just the two options: N5BOC and Zoom Spot.
Zoom Spot and the Jumbo Spot. The Jumbo Spot is the one that is the most popular because it's the cheapest. It comes from China. You can find it on eBay, Amazon.
That's what I have.
And the one I have here is built around the Jumbo Spot. I think I built this for less than, with the case, I think for less than $60.
Yeah. That's what I have.
Yeah, mine cost me 18. I just needed the MMDVM board.
Yeah.
MMDVM, I think, stands for multi-mode digital voice modem.
Okay.
Did you get that case from, what's it, C4 Labs?
C4 Labs, yeah. The case that I have here, see, when you buy the Jumbo Spot from China, they'll actually provide a metal case for you, too. It's usually black, and it has the Wi-Fi symbol engraved in it. But mine broke because they're not very sturdy.
You must have been pretty rough with it.
Well, yeah. Well, here's the thing: you put them together, it's hard to take apart. So
Yeah.
But this, But
So
this
what-
case, I purchased from C4 Labs. I think the website's actually on the bottom. Maybe you can see it. There it is. C4labs.com.
But you recommend the N5BOC, the
The N5BOC, I do recommend that. Now, with the Jumbo Spot, majority of them are fine. You might have to calibrate it because of the tolerances that they use are not as tight as the N5BOC and the Zoom Spot. So you may or may not have to calibrate it. Mine, I have to calibrate it, and there's a tool that you can use that's actually built into PyStar to calibrate the transceiver, so that way your is it called the BER, the bit error rate, is close to 0%. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, and me and Jack just went through that last week, and that's not difficult to adjust the bit error rate either.
Yeah, and yeah, Scott, yeah, you're definitely correct, because I had to change mine to because when it was off, it wouldn't hear my radio. So once I had it calibrated, then it worked just fine.
So you have the MMDVM Simplex 1VB?
Yeah, I actually have both of them. I have the duplex and the simplex, and the reason why I have both is because, well, I'm not going to, well, maybe I can just say I just buy everything. Well, the reason why I have the duplex one also is because with DMR, there's more flexibility when you're using a duplex hotspot. The duplex hotspot is basically a mini repeater. So you have to configure it where you have to configure transmit frequency and the receive frequency like a repeater. For anybody who wants to do DMR, I would highly recommend getting a duplex one, because that way, if you want to change talk groups, you don't have to wait for somebody to unkey. If you're listening and somebody's keying up on a hotspot, and you have to wait on a talk group, you have to wait for them to basically unkey and then push the talk to have the hotspot go over to where you want to go.
That is a pain too.
Right now I'm looking at the website for the N5BOC, and the duplex are out of stock. The simplex is $79, plenty in stock, it says.
Yeah, they've been selling like hotcakes lately. So, okay, I bought mine back in April, and
if you're not sure, if you guys aren't sure what you're buying, you could always send one of us the link, me, Jack, Steven, to verify that you're going to be buying the right thing. Because if you buy the wrong thing, you're going to go off in a different area. So, you're welcome to send that to us. I only have experience with the Raspberry Pi Zero W. Jack, though, has a couple different Raspberry Pis, and so does Steven. So, they could just lead you in the right direction.
Yeah, I have nine
Tom, what
Raspberry
radio
Pis.
board do you have?
Say again, Ted.
What radio board do you have?
I whatever came with my Pi Zero W, I never really looked. I'm not that technical to look at radio boards and stuff. I just bought the complete kit with the software already loaded, and I was happy as a fat pig in mud, So I'm not sure it's.
okay, what Scott has on his screen here is the Brandmeister Manager. he was talking about the BM API. Basically, you have to. There's actually a tutorial on that. If you want to do Brandmeister DMR, there is actually a tutorial where you can actually install the Brandmeister manager in your Pi-Star, which gives you more flexibility with the software. So that's. I actually have to do that on my hotspot too, because I actually just saw the video for that last night.
Scott, are you KB3JQQ?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So you already have a Pi-Star. You just need the software loaded on it, or you already have the software loaded.
Oh, he's up and running.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just didn't.
It's been up and running for months.
Yeah, I only recognize people with call signs. So yeah,
I came from my board meeting. That's why I got my full name in there, not a call sign.
Okay.
I forgot to change my call, but that's.
And I hear you on repeaters every once in a while too, Scott. But quite a few of you guys already have Raspberry Pis. You may not have the Pi-Star software loaded, and you could refer to Jack to help you there if you wanted to, because he has actually downloaded the Pi-Star software from the website, and there's different options to download. There's like 5 different software packages you could download. He can point you in the correct.
Yeah, the 3.4.17 is the oldest 3 versions, pretty stable. The 4 version does work, but I had some issues with it, so I went back to the 3.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's no problem really, unless you don't have experience downloading and stuff like that. But we'll walk you through whatever you would like to be walked through
and
with.
Another option, before I forget, and it's the most expensive option, but probably the easiest from based on what people are saying online, is the Shark RF OpenSpot 3. The price of those are close to $300. But from what I hear about people using that, it is the easiest option to set up. Now, I have no experience with it because, as you know, I'm, me, Tom, and Jack, we're good with Pi-Star, and we know how to use it, so there's no reason for us to. But
what was that site again?
I'm sorry.
What was that site again?
The site of
the Pi.
The what? I'm sorry.
The name of the system you're talking about.
Oh, the Shark RF OpenSpot 3.
Shark. Okay.
Yeah, Shark RF. I don't know the website so it's probably Shark RF or something like that. Yeah, this is the 3rd version because the OpenSpot came out several years ago, and then the OpenSpot 2 came out, and then the OpenSpot 3 came out about a month or 2 ago. And from what I hear, the OpenSpot 3 is very versatile in terms of cross modes, configurations, and stuff like that. So if that's something you may want to, if that's something else you might want to look at, that's another option you can look at. Okay. So anybody have any questions so far?
Just that can you put up a list on Discord or something?
A list of
what to purchase, like Raspberry Pi 0/W, or if you want to build it yourself, we've got an N5 BOC board with a Raspberry Pi, I guess. I guess there are different options.
Okay.
In any event, you need Pi-Star software, right?
Yeah. What I can do is maybe compile a list of different options.
Yeah, that'd be good.
And then that way, whatever path you choose, you can pick and choose how you want to do it. I can maybe maybe provide the websites of what I did, and that way you can look at it and see how you want to go about it.
And if you're not technically inclined, you want the easiest option, the one already built, the one that already has the software loaded, so that when you get it in the mail, you plug it in your USB port, you set it up, you connect it to your router, and you turn on your HT and you start talking.
And then which one is that? The Pi 0W?
That's the one I have. Yes.
Well, they sell complete kits.
Yeah.
Like a lot of times they will say in the description what's included. It'll say a lot of times, I know on ham radio outlet site, when they sell the Zoom Spot, it will say the UHF board, which is the actual Zoom Spot itself. It'll say the Pi Star, the Raspberry Pi 0W, and if it comes with a case, they'll tell you the case. But it'll have it in the description because they sell both the complete version and just the actual board.
And these are called hotspot kits or
The
MMDVM kits, or
I don't know what I have to look. I have to look it up, but if you search if you go to Ham Radio Outlet's website and you search for a Zoom Spot, it'll bring up a list of products on there that.
You can go to your browser and just type in MMDVM, and it'll give you a list of sites.
Now, one thing to remember here, Steve and Jack have different ones. I only got the Raspberry Pi 0W. If we can all stick with the same type of thing, unless you already have a hotspot, it would be easier for us to help you along if you run into problems or something. Which you may not run into problems, but if we all have the same type of stuff, it'd just be easier to troubleshoot if we had to do that.
But if you already have I know, like me and Jack, we have Raspberry Pis up the wazoo laying around the house. So in that case, you already have one part of the equation. So like I said, I built hotspots around the Pi 0W, a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, and the Raspberry Pi 4. So I can basically help. And then the procedure is basically the same. It's just it's basically the same for all of them. It's just how you assemble it. If you go in the kit route, how to put it together, the parts you need. I guess Ted. Yeah, I'll send out what I can do is probably send out a list on the email of Reflector and provide a bunch of reference websites and stuff like that. And probably the easiest way for me to do is maybe list of ones that I have, and then I can go in the different configurations I have, so that way it's something to reference to.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it.
It'll take me a few days because but I'll get it. So that way, because I know there's many options, and I'm sure that's gonna probably be part of the confusion too, is which is the best option, which is the easiest option. And so when you do that, you may want to take into consideration your budget, your expertise, and stuff like that.
And I don't want to be an expert. I just want to turn it on and talk. I'm not into the soldering and all that type of stuff.
We know JP over there. That's what he wants to do. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Scott. Yeah.
You need a power supply. I'm just looking at them on there.
Yeah, what you're gonna need is a Raspberry Pi power supply. I would get one that's the
1.5 amp.
Yeah, the ones that are recommended by them. Now, if it's the Pi 0W, it would have the I think it's the micro USB connector on it.
Right.
The Raspberry Pi 4 has a USB-C connector. So this is the Raspberry Pi 4. That's the connector that's on there. And let's see. And where is my Raspberry Pi 3? Okay, so here's my Raspberry Pi 3 adapter and Pi 0. You can use the same one. And it has the micro USB. You can see it. It's not really too close to the thing. It looks almost like the other one, but you can tell it is different. So yes, and you want if you can get the official Raspberry Pi power supply, but you can also purchase the ones that you want to make sure that it supplies. It's a 5 volt, and this one here supplies 2.5 amps. So you want at least, I think it's 2, but I would recommend at least 2.5 amps if possible for the Raspberry Pi 0 and the Raspberry Pi 3. The Raspberry Pi 4, I think, recommends 3.1 amps.
Now, I forget, does the wall work come with a complete kit or not? I forget if it does or.
I'm looking
Jack,
at
did it come with a power supply?
No. I just had mine plugged into the computer.
Oh, okay. You're getting
I get
5
power
volts
from the
off of the USB port.
Correct.
Okay.
But I believe the Pi Zero W requires less amps, less amperage from this power source. So you don't want to run into the situation. I know with the Raspberry Pi 4, you would run into the problem if you don't have enough current going into it. It won't in your boot. I've had that happen before.
Yeah, I'm just using a phone adapter that happened to fit into it because it's an old Pi 2B.
Okay. Any additional questions? Did I forget?
I have one,
Yeah, go ahead, Alex.
I don't have a digital HT or anything yet, so I'm thinking about buying one and being able to use it for the Aries Races group with the Ted and Harry and all. Would the Yaesu be the best choice?
It'd be the easiest.
It'll be the easiest, and to use it on, you can even actually use it on DMR because the Pi-Star software has a YSF to DMR bridge in the software. So YSF, yeah, you can. So yeah, you can do that.
Do you
Any
have?
particular? I'm sorry.
Do you have the 2-meter 440 radio already?
Yeah, it's an analog though. It's not digital. So I'm going to buy one. I just want to see which one would be recommended that we could also use for the Aries Races.
So
I have some input here.
Dan?
Yeah. So the nice thing about, and I'm not a huge Yaesu fan, but the nice thing about Yaesu System Fusion is that it's not always a narrowband mode. So whereas DMR and D-Star are both narrowband, not all digital modes are narrowband, and System Fusion uses full bandwidth, which is so you have a higher fidelity in System Fusion, which is why it sounds nicer than D-Star or DMR.
Yeah, I agree. Voice wide or whatever, it sounds very good.
It is. It's very nice.
Now,
I've always been impressed with it. So if I were to get into it, and if I were to buy an HT, from what you just said, Alex, I would suggest a System Fusion HT.
What are they buying
for
now?
that reason?
FT3 now? FT3B or something?
I'm sorry. Tom has the what? Which one do you have, Tom?
Okay, I would not recommend this one. This I bought used. It's an FT70D.
No, that's not.
Okay.
The problem with this is the battery life.
Right.
And that's the biggest complaint on these Yaesu FT70s. I got 2 extra batteries and a quick charger, and I'm swapping batteries constantly. But the FT3, which is in color, but we're talking over $300 or $400 radio now.
See, I have the FT3. This is the FT3.
Yeah, that's a popular one.
Yeah.
This one is.
Ted, is that what you have?
Yeah, this one is close to 400.
Ted, which one do you have?
I have an FT1. I bought it a long time ago, but it's been good.
You can get these used. Yep.
Who has a comment?
Yeah, this is Bob, one of the Bobs. Here's a different perspective on that, and I disagree a little bit, and here's why. You might want a DMR radio if you're going to use DMR repeaters, because if you get the radios he's talking about, you cannot use DMR repeaters. So if you get something like an Anytone, like an 868, 878, you can do all the analog stuff, you can do repeaters, you can do all the other stuff, you can connect it to a hotspot, and any of the hotspots will work, and you can also go to a local DMR repeater. Like for me, I'm only 2 miles from a DMR repeater, and I have that option, so I don't have to use a hotspot. I can go off the hotspot and use the DMR repeater, or go mobile and then hit DMR repeaters all over the place. Just a different perspective. Just something to be aware of.
Well, he's right. There is a lot more DMR repeaters out there than there are System Fusion repeaters. So you may want to look around, Alex, and see what's in your area. But then if you're talking about doing it for Aries Races,
right,
you're really going to have to, as a group, as an Aries Races group, to say, what is the group settling on? What does the group want to do? Because you guys are going to almost have to be on the same thing. You can't always cross mode.
Right.
So especially for something like Aries, you know, when you got to go do like a function or something like that, a community event, and you want to use digital instead of analog, because all of them will do analog. Your D-Star HTs will do analog, you know, repeaters. So are DMRs, so will DMR HTs, and so will the Yaesus. But you know, it depends on, you know, which backbone do you want to jump on mostly. You know, all your hotspots will be able to do all three of the you know, the flavors. But it's, what do you have locally that you might want to jump on? Do you have a DMR repeater down the road that you can use, you can jump on with your HT from inside your house? Or what does your Aries Races group want to say? Hey, decide as a group, say, hey, this is what we should do. And I think as an Aries Races group, you should probably talk to your guys about that and say, okay, as a group, what do we want to invest in? Because you guys probably want to be on the same form factor.
Now,
Ted, what do you?
Repeater's DMR, right?
Well, yeah, Alex, we do have a DMR repeater, and Brian, KP3WHR, was talking about getting an MMDVM and setting it up for everything, you know, setting it up for C4 FM and D-Star and everything. So, yeah,
so that was
it's hard to say what to buy right now. I have both a $100 DMR TYT 380, which works pretty well. I mean, I have no problems with it. It sounds good. And I have the FT1 that I bought a long time ago. And people really like the FT3. So I don't know. It's hard to say if you're going to buy one radio, what to do at the moment.
Right.
What do we have here for those repeaters in the Bel Air, White Marsh area?
Right.
Well, I know in Harford County we do have analog and we have DMR at the Harford County EOC.
Now, I mean, it sounds like DMR might be a good start for you because it's a cheap entry level, you know, radio. Get yourself a 380, and you're on. You know, I mean, you can get a 380 for like $80 now.
And it's got a huge learning curve, especially with the code plugs. But
yeah,
once you get the code plug in your radio, then you pretty much smooth sailing after that.
And while I'm pretty busy in the next like month, I mean, I can help out with DMR if anybody gets into DMR. I can help them set up their DMR HT and teach them about a code plug so you understand how to program it, exactly what you're doing, and the relationships between the different programming spots. So I can help out.
Alex,
Harry, which one are you using? Oh, sorry.
Alex,
Harry?
I programmed my 380. I don't think I don't really use a code plug. I mean, I set the talk groups and the color code and
that is a code plug. So
and all that.
What you're doing, Ted, is a code plug is just basically your whole programming schema. When you set up all that stuff, that's your code plug.
Yeah.
So
some
people use predetermined code plugs. Like, can you give me one for this area? And someone already programmed it for you. Here's the file. You throw it on the thing and you're ready to rock and roll. You know what I mean? You just got to put your DMR ID in it. But if you could either do it by scratch on your own, or you can borrow your buddies and throw it in there and replace your DMR ID. It's just a saved configuration file, and that's what's a code plug.
Harry, which one do you use? If you're still there.
On the radio.
Yeah, I have an Anytone 868 and also have a TYT MD-UV 380. I've got both. And I've got the code plugs for the Eastern Shore if anybody's interested.
I have a DMR radio. I have a BTEC, and my problem is the code plug. I haven't sorted that out.
Great, thank you.
So, Stephen, they would still need a Pi-Star, a Raspberry Pi, whether they're using D-Star, DMR, or Yaesu Fusion.
Right, and the thing is, if you don't have a repeater, or my personal preference, I don't like to tie up a repeater, especially with the way I do things. So a hotspot provides you with more flexibility to explore the world of digital voice communications.
But Alex, you could buy a DMR radio,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can have a conversation on the Harford County DMR repeater, today.
Okay.
And here's another point. He uses Brandmeister, and there are a couple Brandmeister repeaters up in your area. And if you use those, you'll be able to access the reflector without having to use a hotspot. Just another option. And then you add a hotspot if you want to later, or if you need the flexibility.
Absolutely.
Yes, you can do that too. Yes.
I always found that Brandmeister gives you a little more flexibility than the DMR network. They're a little bit more stringent about.
And I chose to interlink with Brandmeister because it's easy, because they're more flexible. I know DMR market is very stingy when in terms of connecting.
They're super stingy
In terms of connecting hotspots to the network.
Absolutely.
I know they're starting to incorporate DMR Plus into it, so hopefully that'll the wall will come down and we can do that. But okay, but that's any other questions? I think we covered almost all the what we have on here.
There's more than just Brandmeister. There are several other DMR networks that you can access, and there are plenty of other talk groups like TGIF network. There's a whole bunch of nice guys up there too, and I think there's like Ozark Digital. So, but you need a hotspot to get to them.
Okay. Right. Some of them.
Lots of other things out there
I didn't know
that you can get to with a hotspot that you can't do with a repeater. You're also not stuck with a particular. Somebody steals your time slot using another talk group. That never happens on your hotspot.
Down here on the Eastern Shore and into Delaware, there's a whole slew of repeaters that's blanketed the whole Delmarva Peninsula. Literally, there's almost no area on the Delmarva Peninsula that you can't get to a DMR repeater, and they're all on interstate. So it's, again, slightly different, but they also have some talk groups that you can't get to on Brandmeister. There's the Delmarva group, 8802. There's the Packrat group up in Philly. You cannot get to them from Brandmeister at all. You have to be on a repeater. So there's all kinds of things there. Just, it's not quite black and white. There's a lot of little this and that's out there.
And there's calibration you might have to do. And there's two different ways of doing it. There's an automatic way, and you just follow the instructions, and it'll walk you right through calibrating your Pi Star. And it's very easy. And it's hotspot offset calibration from K9 NPX. And what the calibration does is to bring your BER down. If you have a high BER, then your communications is going to break up.
And I did mine manually.
You can do it manually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'll hear, if you're on a digital repeater or a digital reflector, every once in a while you'll hear a burp or something like that. And that's, you just lost contact there for a minute. It is momentarily, unless you're way off, but it's easy to calibrate these things.
Yeah.
So we got one more thing to talk about, and that was, so wait a minute, let me just recap. People who have a Yaesu radio, a Yaesu Fusion radio right now, that's the easiest migration because they just need a Raspberry Pi and to have the Pi Star software loaded, and we'll help them connect to the NEMARC reflector. People that have DMR or D-Star, they still need a Raspberry Pi, and they can still connect to the reflector as long as they have a Raspberry Pi. But they have to register for a number of some
DMR,
sort.
you got to register.
There's
for
another
number.
component, right? Isn't there the radio component in addition to the Raspberry Pi?
I think what Tom meant to say is the Raspberry Pi and the radio board.
And the radio board.
That connects to the Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, and that's
okay.
Yeah.
The radio board is also called Top Hat.
Yeah.
The Top Hat.
Yeah.
Radio Top Hat.
Yeah. And if you buy the kit already together, it comes with it. So you still need a Raspberry Pi no matter what type of digital radio you have. If you don't have a digital radio, you would need to buy a digital radio and a Raspberry Pi. Now, the last thing that I think Stephen's going to briefly touch on is the All-Star link, and that needs even more, another piece of hardware
Okay.
for analog
Okay, so
radios.
So the common theme here is that all these things we've been using have one thing in common, and that is the Raspberry Pi.
Mm-hmm.
For All-Star Link, we're not plugging anything to the Raspberry Pi. So if you have a Raspberry Pi, whatever, there's no board attached to it. It's just the Raspberry Pi itself. What you need to configure with it is a separate item. Like this, for example, this thing here, it contains an All-Star board in here, the circuitry, to talk to the Raspberry. So there's a USB port that plugs into the Raspberry Pi, and this particular one has a connector that attaches to a radio. For example, a mobile rig. Now, on the lot of back of the mobile rigs, okay, it's got a connector right there for packet.
Mm-hmm.
That a custom cable would connect this to this, and now I can use a regular radio and that will be your All-Star node.
I'd say analog radio.
Analog radio, yes. Okay, that's one. I'm just describing one option you can do. The other option that's similar to what we've been discussing with the hotspots is a Raspberry Pi, but instead of connecting a Pi hat to the Raspberry Pi, it's a separate device that plugs into the Raspberry Pi, and that separate item is your transceiver, a low power transceiver. I have mine it's in the other room. I should have disconnected before I started this. That basically will act as your what we've been talking about, your hotspot. They call it a node, but I'll just use hotspots because that's what we've been talking about. So that will become your All-Star Link hotspot. And what All-Star Link, what you can do with that is you can use an analog radio. You don't need a digital radio, and communicate to the NEMARC reflector also using an analog radio. So basically, your radio, it's going to be your radio transmitting to the All-Star Link transceiver that's connected to your Raspberry Pi and to your internet, and it does the same exact thing.
Now, Stephen, is that like an analog to digital converter?
No.
So if they connect an analog radio to your reflector, we're going to hear the static and everything else that comes with an analog radio?
Yes, you will. Actually, you will hear when their signal. I haven't tried it, but if you listen on the East Coast reflector, you will actually hear stations that sound that on a digital won't have the problem, but the ones that are on All-Star Link, you will actually hear the hashing and stuff like that on the signal.
Okay.
But if you're a few feet away, it should be a good signal.
Yeah.
It should.
Yeah, that's not going to be a problem. But if you wanted to go, take a little.
If you go down the block, it may sound bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, that's an option if for those that don't want to purchase a digital radio. And
how much is that All-Star hotspot or radio board?
There is a website. Let me just make sure I got the name correct on the website here. It's hold on, let me just see. Okay, the website is kitsforhams.com. KITSFORHAMS.com. It's going to take you to a website that's redirected to HAM project info, and they're going to list 3 different products on there. The one that I showed you, here is the Dyna. The one that I was just talking about that I have connected to the East Coast reflector is called Cherry. That's the one that has 2 USB things that plug into your Raspberry Pi. And the third one, which for people who don't like to build kits, I wouldn't recommend because I've already damaged a radio. And as you can see, it's still a work in progress. That's the Brian.
Oh, so a fully assembled and tested Sherry is $85 for the version, UHF version,
And
and
they sell the
$8
Sherry,
shipping.
and they sell the Sherry in both a UHF and a VHF. So if you don't have UHF, you can have a 2 meter or a HT or something like that and use that. So that's so that's an option if you want to talk on the NEMARC reflector. You can go that route. So that way you will only have to invest about $100 to
use your analog plus a
analog
pot,
video.
plus the Raspberry Pi.
If you have a spare mobile radio laying around, you can get the Dyna, but like I said, you're gonna need some technical expertise, but soldering and stuff like that. If your radio doesn't have a 6-pin DIN that will interface directly with this, because what it comes with is a 6-pin DIN jack. So if your radio, I know some of the Yaesus and some of the Kenwoods have a 6-pin connector on them. They'll interface perfectly with it. I know the FTM 100 has a 6-pin jack on the radio that a 6-pin cable. I had it here. You could just, if you purchase the Dyna, you can just take that 6-pin cable and plug it in on each side, and just need to install the All-Starlink software on your Raspberry Pi, and you're up. Now I'm going to warn you though that
in that case, there's not even any. You could just turn off your transmitter, I guess, somehow or another. You're not even. There's no RF link. It's a baseband link.
Well, here's the thing. Now I haven't tried talking. Now with the Dyna, I haven't really played much with it, so I haven't tried talking with the mobile rig through this directly. I haven't tried that, but I know you set the frequency, so you can, if you have an HT, you can talk to set it on the frequency of the mobile rig hooked up to that, like a simplex hotspot.
But it doesn't sound like the Dyna is even a radio transceiver. It's just
receiving. It's just an interface. This is all it is.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. So what I've read online is what people were doing with this. It was taking a mobile rig, putting a dummy load on it, so that way they can use it as just in the house or whatever, and go that way if they have a spare radio laying around.
That's interesting.
But I do like the Sherry, because I have that running, and that thing's been running for months now, see, nobody's on the East Coast reflector right now, but if somebody was, I could turn it up. And so I just set that up about 2 days ago, and it seems to be working based on the test that I was doing. So like I said, that'll be another option for those that may want to pursue that path.
So let me see here. Alex, you already have Raspberry Pi, right?
No, not yet.
Oh, must be the wrong Alex.
The other Alex.
Okay. Krauzo,
it's me.
Who's Krauzo?
Me.
That's you?
Yeah.
You have checked that you have a Raspberry Pi available for.
Oh, yes, my son has one. I have 3 of the Arduinos, but they're not.
Oh, okay.
They can't be used, can they?
Not. I don't know how, if it can.
Okay. My son has the Raspberry Pi, so I have one available. It's not. Yeah.
Okay, so who here has a Yaesu C4FM radio? Jack, Chuck, Ted, me.
Oh,
So now
well, I have everything. So
out of Chuck, and Ted, I think are the only three that raised their hands. Do you have a Raspberry Pi ready? Chuck, you do. Well, I know Jack does. So Chuck, we could actually set you up if you're ready. Just for a demonstration.
I have the Raspberry Pi themselves. I don't have the
software
or the what you called it.
He needs this.
Yeah.
He needs this
Oh, you don't have a hat.
The top hat.
Oh,
part
okay.
I
I
don't have.
got you.
Radio board.
The
Radio
DVM.
board. I don't have
radio.
You can set up everything except the modem.
Yeah. But
Get
we'll
your
wait.
DMR ID and all that stuff.
Are they the same thing then when you say radio board or MMDVM? Is that basically the same thing?
It's the same thing. Yep.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess this is about as introduction as we can get right at the moment.
That was very good.
I hope we didn't. Well, probably did, but I hope we didn't confuse everybody too much.
Well, Stephen, I was going to ask where you hosted that your server at. You said you had one in the cloud. Is that on AWS or is that on?
It's on AWS. I have it set as an EC2 instance.
Okay. I'm a little bit familiar with the platform, so good on it. But you also have one at home. You just clone it up there, or do you just manage it separately?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Do you manage it separately, or just clone the one at your house to the one in the cloud?
Well, I do manage both of them. The one at the house is like right. It's yeah, you can't see it in my camera. It's let's see, it's right there when I'm pointing. The computer that I have that I'm managing here at the house only has the All-Star Link software asterisk. It only has that installed on here. The one in the cloud, I've got everything else on the cloud. I think I wasn't really sure what you were asking. I don't know if,
Well, no, you said you manage them separately. It's not like you have the one at your house and you just clone it up to the cloud. So it's a little bit of work for you to manage both those yourself. So
no, they're two separate. The reason why I have the D-Star and the Fusion reflector in the cloud was it was conflicting with my hotspots. It would work when I deploy it, but the next day when my hotspots and the server's doing an update, all of a sudden I can't use my hotspots. So to mitigate that, I moved those particular reflectors to on the cloud platform.
So they do different things. All right, I understand.
Okay.
So if you guys decide to buy one, when you get one in, contact me, Jack, or Steven. And Dan, I think, will help with the DMR or D-Star. I forgot what you said. And we'll be glad to help you set up and join the reflector. See, I was up at 2. Yeah, okay, great, Scott, thank you. And I was up at 2:30 in the morning. I was calling Ted all night, thinking that he was on Fusion. I said, Ted, are you awake? But no answer. So it would, I mean, I think it'd just be another option for us to play with. I mean, we got pretty good with this Zoom thing. And I think having, laying in bed with your little HT and you wake up at 2 in the morning, you just give somebody a call, and maybe somebody will answer. But I think the biggest benefit is having our whole club, all the members being able to talk to each other at any time.
And I also think, especially, like I said, with the people who are, I think the biggest benefit are the people who cannot put up antennas outside for whatever reason. And
Scott.
And
rabble rouser.
And that way they can, that way they can get on the air and talk to people outside the area too. And because this is available, like you said, people will ask, well, why do I want to do this? Well, because we can. It's another available tool to use, and despite what the old curmudgeons want to think, it is a viable way to communicate outside your typical boundaries. So, and I'm hoping this will maybe like I said, bring more people, bring more new people in and keep them in. That's the main thing too, because we see a lot of times where people get frustrated and give up because it's out of their league or whatever, or just can't get stuff with, and like I said, it's another option that I decided that I want to make available to everybody. So, and yeah, so the past month I've been cussing and screaming and everything because I think I must have loaded Linux like 25 times because I screwed something up. So, but now that I finally got both running, and now that I've done it so many times, if it does go down, I can bring it back up pretty quick. So,
and there's a lot of technicians class that has been joining NEMARC, and I think it's a way to put us all together. Even though, I mean, if you notice Discord, there's a lot of people on Discord, but I've only heard from maybe 8 of them. There seems to be upwards of 27 on right now, and I think I've only talked with about eight of the people on Discord, and I think having radio communications with them, they may be more available to talk on the radio than chat on Discord. And I like Discord, but I like Zoom too. But I think this is just another option that'll benefit everybody in the club.
And eventually, what I would see my biggest plan for domination is to basically eventually hook up our reflectors to the repeater.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, and you said, as you can see across the country, a lot of clubs have their repeaters interlinked with a digital network, and that way, if one of us or a bunch of us travel outside the area, we can still talk to each other, and all we need is tiny little radio. And I personally, I wish this kind of stuff existed when I got my license back in the early 90s.
I was about to say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't when I was a technician and just getting started, I didn't have any of the equipment I have now, but that'd be really cool if there was hotspots and little $100 HTs that I could get on and talk around the world, or talk to people over in California. They got tech discussions going on, and both D-Star and DMR, and I'm sure System Fusion has the same thing. It's a really cool avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Pete out in Washington State says the digital the DMR and the Fusion and D-Star very, very popular up there. So
I like the idea of being able to take my Pi-Star with me wherever I go, and an HT and a Wi-Fi connection, like at McDonald's or something like that, sitting in there eating, and just talk. Carry it on. Take it anywhere.
Yep.
Take it to my sister's house, my brother's house, whatever.
Take it to church and have a conversation during Mass. Yeah.
That's the good thing about, and you have to, of course, have a power supply with you. And then, believe it or not, there's little power banks that you can buy, have enough power and enough amps to run the Pi-Star. I mean, that'd be something even to take along to a summer field day or a winter field day. Not when we get out of the situation we're in now with COVID-19.
Stephen or Tom, may sound like a silly question, but the software that you use for like Echolink has reflectors and all that. Are we connected to that, or can it be, or will it be?
Yes, it can, and I'm looking into that.
Okay.
Not right now because I just want to get the basic up, but yes, the system that I've been deployed does have an option to connect to Echolink.
Okay, thank you.
So when everything settles down a little bit from here, I'm going to look into putting us on Echolink also.
So their reflectors are similar to what you've built, Echolink?
I don't honestly know, but I know that the All-Star Link software, Asterisk, Asterisk is basically a fork of the actual Asterisk that's used on PBX phone networks. So when they forked it over, they put in an Echolink option that you can configure in the stanzas in the configuration files. So I'm going to look into that and get us and hook it up to Echolink too.
Thank you. Wasn't sure what that reflector meant.
Echolink's been around a long time, and I don't think the quality is as good as All-Star. I heard that All-Star quality is much better. And I have an Echolink app on my phone, so I can access the CBRA repeater Echolink just with an app on my telephone.
Echolink is 8-bit, 8 kilohertz audio. I know because I got an Echolink node here, KB3GK.
Okay. So the quality is not as good, right?
Yeah, from what I heard, the audio is because when I listen to the Echolink audio and the All-Star Link is much superior.
Yeah.
I've never used Echolink. Don't know the first thing about it. And I don't use FT8 either.
I use FT8 every weekend.
All right, I'm lying, but anyway. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, I'm going to record. I'm recording this. I'm going to hand it off to Dean, let him do his magic, and I'm sure he'll post a link to it somewhere. And like I said, if you're thinking about buying a Raspberry Pi, and you want to check first and make sure you're buying the right thing, you can send us a link to verify that you're buying the right thing, and it will help you set it up. Jack, me, Steven, Scott, and Dan. We'll be glad to help you set the thing
now,
up.
if Tom said we'll help you spend your money, I'll refer you to Mr. Davis up the road from me.
Yeah, we don't spend people's money.
And Stephen, you're going to send us some options.
Yeah, I'm going to. I'll make up a list of websites and configuration options, and it'll take me a while to do it, but I'll put a list together so that way people can use it as a reference.
Easy to difficult, huh? Easy options, difficult options.
Expensive options,
cheap options.
Yeah.
Got N3FJP options and